My name's Chris Stotts. I've been coming to Spring Hills for about a year and a half. My childhood was full of chaos, trauma, violence, and mental and physical abuse. Many times as a child, I witnessed my mom and dad drunk in bloody battles, screaming and hitting each other until they were bleeding. So we woke up one day and my mom had left us just with our dad, and that ended in living in his car for about 3 or 4 months in the dead of winter. My sister slept in the front floorboard, my brother and I slept in the back seat with the car running all night long, often only eating at school and fending for ourselves in the evenings. About 12 years old, my mom had reappeared in our life and was supposed to take us for the weekend, and Dad agreed, and after that we moved to Millersport, where I wouldn't see my dad again until I turned 19. So once we moved to Millersport, my 8th grade year, I decided to join the Millersport Fire Department as a junior firefighter through the Boy Scouts. And that was like another safety net for me. It got me away from the home life. Through the fire department, I started to experience more trauma and things that I wouldn't expect to see, which just continued to bottle up from my childhood trauma, as well as, first responder trauma. At age 16, being on a first out truck, I'd, witnessed patients being dead upon arrival, stabbings, gunshot victims. Even though I was just getting my certifications, over the years of being on the truck and my childhood trauma, it finally all came to a breaking point. I just continued to serve the community and work instead of dealing with my problems. That was my coping mechanism, so eventually that didn't work. I thought I needed a break from what I was doing, so I began to start partying on the weekends, and then that just led into a very dark path. Being a workaholic and just growing up with always working and serving the community, drugs and alcohol gave me a break from that, as well as just life in general and the world around me. I just started isolating. I continued to work to get an income, but just blew it on drugs and alcohol, and completely fell apart from the real world. At the peak of my addiction, when things were really bad, I got arrested for possession of methamphetamines, a firearm in a motor vehicle, and weapons under disability, something I never would have thought would have happened before. Even in the midst of being locked up, I knew I needed Christ in my life. As a child, even through the chaos and violence from my parents, we would get picked up by a church bus on Sunday morning and Sunday evening, which is where I first experienced the love of Christ. After recommitting my life to Christ, during my 5-month stay in the Licking County Jail in the HMOD, I began leading a prayer circle using the 40-day purpose-driven devotional. Upon my release of the jail, I went to an inpatient treatment facility. Upon graduation from the inpatient treatment facility, God opened the door for me to be accepted into a faith-based sober living house. When I moved into the faith-based sober living house, I also began attending Spring Hills Church as well as Celebrate Recovery, and was baptized March 12th of this year. On the day of my baptism, I had an overwhelming sense of joy, making an outward expression and letting the world know that I belong to Christ and not worrying about what the world thinks of me. In my journey with Christ, I've found the most joy in serving Him and knowing Him personally, while serving the homeless community, the Vertical 196, and just praying with people in need. Maybe you're sitting out there feeling hopeless, depressed, sadness, or grieving. Having a relationship with the Lord and trusting in Him will bring a sense of joy that's unspeakable.